This is Steve with Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and today I'm going to show you how to install our Tusk motorcycle lock-on heated grip. When the cold weather hits, you'll be glad you have heated grips. Now, if you haven't bought heated grips yet and you need some additional information, what you're going to need to know is that if your bike can support the additional electrical accessory. Now, you can look in your OEM service manual for this information, or you can simply just put your year, make, and model into our website. And if we offer that for your machine, then we have done the homework for you already. Now, as a general rule of thumb, if your bike has a headlight and a battery, most likely it will support the extra electrical accessory. Now, today I'm going to show you how to install our heated grips on this KTM 500. Now, these procedures will be very similar on most motorcycles, but just double check with your instructions to be sure. To do this job, you'll need some basic hand tools, a multimeter or test light, safety glasses, and a copy of your OEM service manual for more information, proper procedures, and specs. You'll also need your Tusk motorcycle lock-on heated grip kit. Now, this kit comes with everything you need to install it on your bike. The first thing we need to do is remove the old grips and throttle housing from our bike. Now, if you need to go ahead and adjust your free play out of your cables while you disassemble this, go ahead and do so. Now, I've removed the stock throttle cam off of the stock throttle housing, and I've chosen the KTM throttle cam from the kit. Now, I'm going to place that up right here as I want to verify that it is the same, or it will work correctly with the heated grip system. So what you want to look for is where your where your cable placement is, and then the overall diameter of the cam itself for your cables to ride on. Now, you can see here that the placement is correct and the overall diameter is correct. So this is the cam that we want to install onto our heated grips and use for this install. Now, depending on what bike you're installing these on, you may need to use a shim. Now, what the shim's going to do is fill in the gap between the housing and your cam. Now, you don't want it too tight, so just double check that before you install it. Now, let's take the cam we selected and go ahead and slide that on the handlebar, and we need to install the cables. Now, we need to install the cables the same way that we disassembled them from the stock housing. Now let's grab the heated grip throttle housing, and we're going to go ahead and install that onto the handlebar. Now, there's grooves in the housing and the cam that they will fit on. You can rotate that so that it works best for you on where you want to install the wire and your grip. Now, we want to install our wires with the wires facing up, and that will also work with the half waffle grip that we have here. So we'll go ahead and slide that onto the end of the throttle housing, push it in, and now grab the stock throttle housings and install those as well. Now, before I tighten it down, I want to leave it a little loose so that I can make sure that it's going to work properly. What you want to do is rotate that your cables are in the correct position, and you also want to make sure that your wires will be in a location that won't be in front of your brake lever or anything that's going to inhibit the function of your throttle. The next thing you want to check is to make sure your throttle is going to work properly. So you want it to return correctly, but function properly. Now that we've established that it works correctly, we'll go ahead and tighten it down. Now let's grab the left side heated grip, and we're going to install that. Now, we want to take the lock ring and we'll go ahead and install that over the end of the grip, and we can slide that on the bar. Now, if the bar has excess paint or knurling, you might need to use some sandpaper to lightly sand that down so that it fits, but you do want it to fit tightly. Now, the other thing you can do is use a soft mallet to lightly tap it on. Just be very careful when you do this. I like to use a twisting motion to do this. Now, you do want to rotate the grip so that the wires are not going to be in the way of your clutch or anything else that may inhibit the handling of your machine. Now, we'll just simply use our Allen wrench and lock our grip down. Now that we've got that tight, we need to go ahead and adjust the free play of our throttle cables and go ahead and install a rubber boot over it. The next thing we need to do is hook up power. Now there's two ways that we can do this. We can hook it directly up to the battery, which if you're going to do that, you'd need to remove the gas tank and run your wiring harness along the frame, and then hook up your black wire to the negative and the red wire to your positive. Now keep in mind that if you do it this way and you forget to turn your heated grips off, then you could potentially run your battery dead. Now the other way is key on power method, which if you turn the key off, then the power to the grips goes off and it won't kill your battery. Now on most bikes, you would hook that up to an accessory wire, the wires from your key switch, or a headlight wire. Now on this bike, we are going to hook it up to a headlight wire, as that will work the best for us. Now let's remove our headlight assembly to gain access to our headlight wires. Now we've got our keyed wire connector here and we've got our headlight connector here. Now the reason we've chosen the headlight connector is we don't want to draw any additional electricity while the bike starts. And that is how the bike electrical system is designed on this bike, is it won't turn on the headlight or any other accessories until it's started. So that's the reason we're going to tie into the headlight, so that it won't draw that additional electricity until the bike is started. Now I've got my multimeter here so that I can verify the wire that I've chosen out of my OEM service manual will be the right wire that I need to use. Now in this particular case, it's this white wire. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to hook my power wire to the white wire and my ground to ground, and I'm going to start the bike and see if I have 12 volts. Now because this bike, like I said, doesn't send power to the headlight, and that's why we do not have 12 volts right now. And that's so that you can start the bike. Once it's started, then the bike will send power to the headlight. Now that I shut the bike off, as soon as the headlight turns off, the power that I'm going to splice into for the grips will turn off as well. So this is a much better way to do it than wiring it up straight to the battery. Now it's always safe to disconnect the battery anytime that you're splicing into wires or disconnecting connectors. So let's go ahead and disconnect the battery while we do the rest of our install. I've got the main wiring harness here, and we need to connect our red wire to the white, and we need to connect our black wire to a good solid ground on the chassis. So we're going to connect this to this bolt right here that goes right to the chassis, and then we will use this blue connector to connect the red wire to the white wire. Now the way these blue connectors work is you put your red wire in right here, and then the white wire goes right there, and as you push that together, you push this metal thing down through the wires, and then lock it in place with this plastic tab. Next, we need to mount the switch. There's two ways that we can mount this switch. We can take a sticky pad and place it on the back of the switch and then stick it to your machine. Or you can use the supplied bracket and remove the 4 screws from the back of the switch, install the bracket onto the switch, and then we can mount it to the handlebar. We've chosen to use the mounting bracket for the handlebar, which also comes with a rubber piece that you use in between the clamp and the handlebar. Now let's route our wires down to the headlight assembly. When you do this, you need to make sure that you have enough slack or free play in the wires so that the throttle functions properly and it's not in the way of your brake or clutch levers. So when you do this, just make sure to be careful and make sure there's plenty of free play. Use the supplied zip ties to securely fasten the wires to the handlebars. Now I've gone ahead and applied a little dielectric grease to the end of our connectors. So we need to take our main wiring harness connector and plug it into the 4-prong switch harness connector. And then the 2 pigtails that come off of the switch connector, we will go ahead and plug those into each grip. Now with any of the excess wire, just make sure that you use your zip ties to zip tie that securely up out of the way. Now that we've got all of our wires secure, let's go ahead and reinstall our headlight assembly, and then we'll reconnect the battery. Now you definitely want to make sure that you rotate your bars back and forth so that you know that none of the wires are pulling. And you want to do this now so that if you have to pull it back apart and reroute some of your wires, you can do so. But you definitely want to do that before you go ride your bike. Now that we've got everything installed and we've double checked our wiring harness and securely fastened everything, let's go ahead and start the bike and check our grip heaters. Now we just need to put the bolts in our seat, and that's it. That's all there is to installing the Tusk motorcycle lock-on heated grips. Come check us out at RockyMountainATVMC.com for more parts, apparel, and accessories, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is Steve. We'll catch you next time.